Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my 13th podcast. Over the last 4 weeks, I have experimented with this, and for the next 4 weeks, I will continue to do the same. It's had mixed results, and overall, I think that there have been a lot of good learnings from it. I'm enjoying doing the podcast because I feel like I am no longer bound to the content that I'm producing with which to talk about. On the other hand, I know that there's a lot of people who came here for Entropia content, and I want to make sure I'm continuing to provide that content. So, over the course of the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be determining the best way to deliver all of the content you're looking for while continuing the podcast, which is very important to me personally, and I think allows me to be a lot more open about myself, which in a lot of ways that's why you go to a podcaster, because they're honest with you. They don't hide who they are. The other thing is there were things I wanted to talk about that really couldn't be put into the context of a normal video game video, not make any coherent sense. So I kind of did a hybridization. I wanted to continue to produce Entropia content while actually producing this podcast. And I think that overall the format works. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to do this for another 4 weeks, just the way it is. And depending on how it turns out, I might do some alterations to the methodology in which I produce content. Now, the podcast will still be made regardless. I might mix in some regular Entropia videos. I might schedule different days. I might be able to add one more segment. I've also added an exclusive segment to my Patreon that's at least going to be once a month. I do want to kind of ramp it up to twice a month at some point soon. But I also need to balance that out with the rest of my responsibilities. I have a 9 to 5 because this is not my primary form of income. In fact, this is a very secondary form of income at this time. And that's the fact that it's income at all is made entirely possible by my patrons, who are amazing, and I thank you so much for the support. And that being said, it is a labor of love, and I'm going to continue to labor because I love doing this. And I hope that you enjoyed the content I produce. Now, tonight, I had originally planned on talking about artificial intelligence and the fact that I downloaded Replica, which is a chatbot app that actually seems very, very intelligent, and I'm rather impressed by her. But I want a little more time to work with my Replica to find out just what the limits of that programming are, and I don't think I'm going to reach them in that timeline, but I want to continue to see how she develops. Instead, tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about Toulan, and that's right, it's going to be about Entropia Universe. I'm going to talk about Toulan, and we're going to talk about the Book of Life and the pages and all of the things that brings. Because in the end, the cyberpunk dystopia still has culture, as I mentioned in my last episode. And Entropia Universe is going to be a big part of that culture. So, we're navigating the cyberpunk dystopia. This is the Julien McBain Show. Sorry for the delay, guys. It appears it does not want to pop. There we go. You actually have to move around in the game a little bit before it'll pop up on OBS. It's giving me just a little bit of trouble, more than usual, actually, which is odd. Use the leprechaun. Okay, so what is happening on Toulan? Toulan is, of course, the second planet that is, or I should say, it was one of the planets in Entropia Universe that was a planet partner. And frankly, for a long time, it was very, very dead. I visited here last year, I believe, for a grand total of 1 week where I produced 2 weeks worth of content. And I was frankly unimpressed. Now, much like Cyrene, I do feel I probably didn't give it as fair a shake as I should have. I did state with the sheer number of dailies they offered, there were a lot of opportunities for new avatars. And I stand by that today. I feel that there were a lot of opportunities back then for new avatars. Now they've brought the Codex to Toulan, and that has created a lot more opportunity and a lot more reason for people to come here, especially with the meta. Because you have all of these new missions to complete, you can ramp up your meta more and more. That's going to incentivize people to come to Toulan and spend ammunition. And overall, I have seen the population here boom. On top of that, I've also noticed that with Virtualsense taking over Toulan, which was, I think it was a merger. Like I speculated that it was a purchase, but judging by the way that the developers are talking about it, and if one of the devs is watching this, please feel free to comment and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that the two teams merged, and I believe Team Monria ended up taking like the CEO level, because I'm pretty sure Ant is the head of both, of Virtualsense. But I do believe that several, if not all, of Toulan's developers were integrated into the Monria team. And since taking a hold of it, the Monria team has brought their sensibilities and their personal touch to Toulan. And I think that by working with Team Toulan, the original Team Toulan, they've really begun to bring the flavor and character of Toulan out. And that's just incredible, because the biggest thing I said when I came here before, right? The biggest thing I said was, Toulan looks like a planet full of untapped potential, and I am very, very afraid that potential will never be realized. And I feel that if the changes had not come to Toulan, that likely would have been the case. Now, it's not all on the devs. The Codex is certainly a big part of bringing people here, and prioritizing Toulan was a very wise move. It really helped to disperse the population of Entropia, and since Entropia Universe is in fact growing, even though it's not growing at an explosive rate, it brings into focus the number of offerings outside of Calypso. Calypso's a great planet. I've spent a lot of time on Calypso. The majority of my time has been spent on Calypso. Now, last year and this year, I deliberately spent a lot of time away from Calypso, and there were a number of reasons. One, to contribute to the development of the planets I visit. Cyrene has always had a special place in my heart. I spent several months there doing hunting. And then Toulan came out with this new program, and I'm going to be talking about that in just a minute, that drove me to Toulan. And I knew as soon as Merry Mayhem was over, I was flying to Toulan to participate in this, and I will probably stay on Toulan until further notice. I mean, does that mean I spend a whole year on Toulan? Quite possibly. And I'm okay with that. Now, there are places I do want to visit, and even if it's short term, I am likely going to do so. I want to go back to Monria. I rather miss the moon. It's a lot of fun to be on Monria. I want to... Frankly, I need to get to Rocktropia. I've never spent any real time on Rocktropia. And that's to my detriment. It really is. Now, part of it's because of the theme. I was very much not thrilled with the theme of Rocktropia when I got there because, well, I grew up in the 80s and it very much reminds me of the 80s. I'm just waiting for the hairbands to come back. But the fact is that if I don't give each planet enough time to let it entice me, I'm really doing a disservice to the planet and to the devs who put so much work into it. The other thing is that on Rocktropia, you have a mission where you can get stamina tokens. And y'all know how much I am about tanking. Well, those stamina tokens will help raise my hit points, which the meta has already really helped. The more I can do that, the tankier I get. Tankier I get, the more damage I can take. So, I do want to at least pay a token visit to Rocktropia this year. Because I feel it's very important to do so. Let's see if this works the way I wanted to. No, it does not. So, okay. So what's happening here on Toulan? Well, I'm sure by now all of you probably know, but I'm going to go through it really quick. Toulan released, after Virtualsense took over Toulan, they released the Book of Life. And the Book of Life consists of many pages, each of which do different things. But, or I should say, they lead to different prizes, all based around the same thing. Toulan has released property. They're releasing apartments and shops. Personally, I'm kind of in it for an apartment, because I'd love to have a place to hang my hat. But if I get a shop, I will certainly take advantage of it, because I've got all kinds of newbie stuff back on Calypso that I'd be more than happy to sell here on Toulan for a very fair price. I mean, ideally I could get both, but that ain't happening. But So here's what they've done. By doing different activities on Toulan, which are, and give me just a second, I should have prepared a little bit better. Player experience. Okay, so they can be looted from any one of these number of places. From chests and instances, hunting mobs, which is what I'm doing now. That's what I do. I hunt mobs. As something out of the ordinary whilst mining. During crafting. So apparently if you just sit there and craft explosives, you have a chance of getting one of these. From Toulan event mobs, which I believe this coming weekend there's an event going on. And there's a limited number of them held by the Mercil Trader token, Mercil Token Trader at the Citadel. Each of them, there are 6 different types of pages from different chapters. So if it's from the creation of avatars, it's a small apartment. Nawa Transfiguration, it's a medium apartment. Defense spells is a large apartment. Creature spells is a shopping booth. Potions is a shop. And incantations is a large shop. So they're out there in the world. From what I understand, there's 103 pages total. And last I checked, only 2 or 3 had been discovered. Like, this is... I'm sure by now a couple more probably have. And they may have designed this to last year's. And I kind of hope they do. I kind of hope they did. That'd be really cool. But they're in the loot pools now. So all you have to do is get out there and start doing the things that you do. And that's drawn a lot of people here to Toulan relative to what the population used to be. And I think there's a lot of people who don't pay attention to other planets that don't even know about it. That would not surprise me, because the way that Entropia Universe works, you generally only get news about a planet if you go on their forums or if you go to the planet when it pops up in the launcher box. It's a very interesting way of doing things. MindArt created kind of a kind of reminds me of the Fediverse, where you've got different types of microblogging sites and they're all integrated into kind of an open source format. So you've got like Mastodon and Gab and a couple of others. I'm not really familiar with the Fediverse very much, but those are 2 that always pop up when I hear about it. And so they've kind of federated these different companies into a contract arrangement, and it works very, very well. And I feel that the planet partners do very well for themselves overall. I know that Arcadia was booming, and then Next Island suddenly popped up and just started running with the Ancient Greece. And even though the Ancient Greece shares didn't do very well relative to like Crystal Palace, they still have quite a population. I feel that they're probably doing better than most people think. Does that justify the price of the shares? I don't know. I don't own any of those shares right now. I'm focused on Crystal Palace at the moment and on Arcadia Underground, which Arcadia Underground, of course, has historically done very, very well. And now we have Toulan and Virtualsense. And Virtualsense, of course, owns both Monria and Toulan. And both of them are doing very well. And Monria has had pretty solid population. Like, if you go to Monria, it's not hard to run into other people. Now, they're going to be localized in some areas, and the higher level the mobs, the fewer people you're going to run into. That's typical of any planet. But it's not like when I first visited Next Island and there was no one. Keep in mind, I first visited Next Island before the Ancient Greece release. The new one with the new armor and the estates that you could get there. So okay. They've got 103 of these out there. And what I think that's done is that's really incentivized people to come here. Now, what'll happen after they're all gone? Your guess is as good as mine. You're probably going to see some people take their cheese and leave. That's typical of anything. You're going to have that ebb and flow. It's going to be up to Virtualsense in order to come up with something new to kind of entice it and sweeten the pot and keep people up on Virtualsense properties. I know that they're ramping up the Toulan-born program, which I think is going to mirror the Monria-born program. I still stand by my remorse that I was not able to, be Monria-born. But that's okay. It happens. And so the impetus is really going to be on Virtualsense. What can they do to continually ramp up and build up their franchises so that people want to hunt on their planets. Now, Toulan has a couple of really easy incentives to hunt here, even in comparison to Calypso, because, you can do the Codex on Calypso. And, that's where they rolled it out first. I'm sure they did that deliberately, and it kind of, frankly, it pulled a lot of players from other planets, because you had all of these opportunities to do deep customization hunts, where you'd hunt and you get the reward. And like I did the whole Berry Cled hunt from rank 1 all the way to rank 26. I did a huge chunk of the Kerberos one. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And so you have these things that constantly come up, and they tested it on Calypso, and it brought a whole bunch of people back to Calypso, to the point where actually servers were having trouble in some areas. Like Camp Icarus, all of last year, Camp Icarus was a nightmare for loading. It was a it's bad to begin with. It was a nightmare because everyone was on Calypso doing Codex missions. Well, now that the Codex has started to promulgate out, people are going to other planets to fulfill the Codex there, where there's fewer server issues. And so, like, right now I'm doing the Kafaz. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if that is supposed to be Arabic-based or if that's supposed to be Farsi-based. If I had to make a guess, I'd say probably Arabic, judging by the letter uses. So it's probably Kafa. Can't do the accent very well. Kafaz, if I had to make a guess, is the correct pronunciation, but I'm not. That's not my specialty. Lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm gonna finish up with this one, and I'm going to pick another mod. Honestly, I'm probably gonna do tabs next, because why not? Look at them. They're so adorable. It's annoying. And green and blue, and are they Pokemon? Maybe they're almost. And this guy's wearing pants. Actually, I think this one is supposed to be like the level 85 that they've got situated on a hill over there. But yeah, they've got one wearing like bib overalls. I kind of want to ask if they were made by Oshkosh Bagosh. It's Oshkosh Bagosh. Excuse me. But no, this has been a very positive experience for me coming here hunting on Toulan, especially in comparison to my last visit here, where it just felt, I don't know what a good term for it would be, because I'm still grinding. Maybe the fact that there are other people here, there's an actual market. It doesn't feel like I'm on an abandoned planet. And for some people, that's going to be kind of a drag because they had the whole planet to themselves. They were basically... When I was on Toulan, I don't think I ran into another player. I could have declared myself king of Toulan, and I don't think anyone would have cared. Not that anyone would have paid attention, but no one would have cared. I could have pretty much dominated the planet. Not that there was anything to really dominate besides the wildlife. And like, pretended it was part of my digital fief. But now there are people here, and there are people talking in chat, and the community's building, and huge kudos to Virtualsense and the Toulan and Monria teams for putting this together. Just huge kudos. And this is directly to Darkmoon Enigma DME. I don't know if you actually ended up having to double your workload to do this or what, but you're a champ. Seriously. The crap that you deal with, and I know that it's not so much that there are people giving you trouble. It's just the sheer volume of things and the sheer volume of questions that you answer and the advice that you give and the fact that you help to build the community by getting people to interact with each other just floors me, the amount of work that you would have to put in to do that. And so I just, hats off to you especially. So yeah, I don't know, I lost my train of thought because I am so impressed. I am so impressed by the changes they made to Toulan. I am so impressed by the amount of, and it didn't take a lot. I'm sure there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and I know that they had, you know, quest programming and stuff like that. There's always development effort to be put in, but the amount of changes they had to make relative to where the planet wasn't huge. It just took that little bit of, you know, that shot in the arm, and it really revitalized the planet. And I'm looking forward to what Toulan has to offer in the future. I'm going to continue to come here, just like I go back to Monria. This year, I've decided to stay here. I'm going to go to Monria for St. Paddy's Day. That's kind of a thing. But that's still a month and a half off. And I think I might be here until St. Patrick's Day, or thereabouts. Whenever Monria's celebration is, I'll have to pay attention to that, at the very least. And then I might travel around a little bit, but I'm going to probably spend a good chunk of the year here. And I honestly recommend, for those of you who watch me, come to Toulan. Come to Toulan and go after those pages. Because what do you have to lose? You're going to be hunting anyway. You're going to be mining anyway. You're going to be crafting anyway. Why not do it with a chance to get something awesome? So really, that's all I got. We're going to kill off this mob, and I'm going to get myself to a safe spot. It's a bit of a shorter episode today. But this is... things like this are what keep me coming back to Entropia Universe day after day. It's not the grind per se that does it. I know a lot of people come in here, they chill, they chat. I'm not much of a chatter. Well, I will for a time, and then I won't, and then I will, and then I won't, because I'm kind of like that. But it really is just coming here and enjoying the community, and I mostly lurk, I guess is the proper term for it when it's typed, and watch the chat. But the fact of the matter is, overall, the whole thing, it's things like this, the community that they're building here is the reason that I love Entropia Universe. And honestly, this is why I started enjoying Entropia Universe more than World of Warcraft, because I liked my guild in World of Warcraft, and a lot of other places are just a bunch of trolls, and you don't really find that here. So Entropia Universe, in my opinion, is part of the good part, is part of the good that comes out of this cyberpunk dystopia we live in. And I hope that you continue to play as much and enjoy playing as much as I do. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time. So make sure you subscribe. As always, I appreciate the support, and we'll see you in the next one. The Julien McBain Show is a McBain Manor production. I am your host, Julien McBain. My moderators for live casts are Kat, J. Lambertson, and Captain Aubrey. And a huge thank you to my patrons, Red Kryptonite, Jay Lamberton, and Spectrum 3600, without whose support this would be much more difficult.